here in the back.
Okay, sorry about that, you guys. I fully controlled hard, but I apologize 100%. Bob and guys, thank you for helping me out. I appreciate that. Is there anything, that was on my mind. I had a really bad little accident going on, and I couldn't hold it in, but now I feel better. Thank you, gentlemen.
That's fine. It's fine. Bob, you were going to do an introduction?
Yeah, I was going to do an introduction here where Jonathan Clarke is going to help fill the spot here. We had a little something happen back here. We're not going to get into it, but everything's okay now. I'll let the person involved actually bring it up if they want to talk about this on their mind. But if we want to get back into it, Jonathan Clarke, you and Morgan were going back and forth on a little something on Hollywood if you want to keep going.
Yeah, we were going back and forth on something there, and then now I have to fill the slot, and I'm really happy that I have to fill the slot because it's been a while since I've done anything here on Blog Talk Radio quite like this. Throw anything up in the chat room, guys, you want to talk about here for the last 30 minutes. I want to know what your opinion is on a lot of different things. Morgan, you were talking about a movie. Did you want to promote that one more time so everybody can check that out when it drops?
Well, right now, one of my first movies is called Exposure. It's available on my website. That is on that's in the chat room. That's on sale with my books as well. We're shooting the sequel to that in August, called Double Exposure. Corey Feldman's directing it, and we have a number of stars that are committed to the project, but I'm not at liberty to say who they are at the moment because we're still in pre-production. We just got the final script done, and we're going to start shooting in August.
Son of a bitch.
That hurt.
I apologize. This is Mike Summers calling in. My computer's acting up. I didn't even know I was on the air.
No problem.
I got something on my mind. I got something here. The
Way to go, honey.
The 2013 Billboard Music Awards had a lot of highlights, and one thing that I talked about in my video blog, one of my video blogs on my website, was how Taylor Swift was awarded the Artist of the Year award. And the question that I have for everybody who may want to call in on this and everyone listening in the chat room is, do you believe that she was a worthy candidate to receive that award just a few weeks ago? Do you think that she's a deserving candidate for Artist of the Year? Let us know.
I think they do that by the number of the numbers that they generate as far as revenue, number one songs, that sort of thing. Another part of it, and most people are not aware of this, Taylor Swift does a lot of community service free stuff, which doesn't translate into money in her pocket, but the various awards groups are aware of it. And when they find somebody who's doing stuff like that, that kind of leans them towards them to give something back, because they're not trying to get rich, even though they are rich. They're trying to do something positive. And Taylor Swift has done some really major things in the past year in regard to children's cancer and disaster management in central USA. She hasn't attached her name or her popularity to it. She's just very quietly done it. And I think that's part of the reason that she got the kind of push towards that award. We've seen that happen before in the Academy and the Golden Globes in relation to political action of candidates or artists in the deal. Which, by the way, this is a shameless plug. Exposure did really well at the Cannes Film Festival, by the way. It's doing very well in Europe. I would have never believed it, but, But I think that's why Taylor Swift did get that. That would be my bet.
It's got a lot to do, too, I think a lot of people would agree with this, too. Taylor Swift was once described as the biggest star in the world, which no doubt she is. She's kind of just there. She doesn't need to attach her name to anything for anyone to know who she is. She's kind of just there when anything happens. So when she's there, she knows she's immediately going to get publicity for whatever she does, and still be talked about. I think that ultimately still has a lot to do with it, because we've seen her do so much, from cover girl commercials to just commercials for just general charities and stuff like you just mentioned. She's just there. She's just there, and it's because of who she is. She's getting recognition, which is a huge bonus whenever it all comes down to it, really, I think.
She gets involved, and I really kind of respect that. Also, I want to give a quick shout-out to, I don't know if they're listening, family and friends of NASCAR, the NASCAR network, for my friend and colleague Jason Leffler, who died last night in a car crash in a speedway race in Michigan. He was one of the nicer, friendlier, crowd-pleasing people with NASCAR, who would actually go up to the fences and talk to the fans before the race. He will be missed, because he was a young, talented, passionate driver who was making his way up into the major leagues of sprint, NASCAR Sprint Series racing from nationwide. And although I won't be going to the funeral, I will be sending flowers.
I'll tell you one thing. I live across the road from the funeral home, literally right across the road from the funeral home. And one thing that I notice every day is that there's a hearse there. And I know statistically there, if someone dies every 2 minutes, for every death, there's a newborn. But the amount of that we are seeing every single day now is absolutely atrocious. I wonder often, what can be done to decrease. I know there's probably nothing that can be done, but the amount of people who are dying nowadays is just absolutely frightening. And it's people that you know, which is the scariest thing. It's not someone that you didn't know, that you haven't known your entire life. It's someone that you felt as if was there forever. And they're here one day and they're gone the next.
I do book signings with NASCAR every year at Daytona. As a matter of fact, I'm getting ready to do one in July. And I sit with these guys. NASCAR's been very good to me. They always put 2 drivers at my table, and we talk about racing and whatever, during the course of the day. And Jason was one of those guys who would volunteer for that duty from time to time. I think it's been 2 years since he sat at my table, but I see him every time I go to Daytona when the guys are there. And when you know these guys, it's like I'm talking to Bob and you guys here on the line. We're friends. We've been doing this for a long time on BTR. If one of us drops, like we lost Sonny a while back, trust me, you feel it when you know them personally, when you're involved with these people. Losing friends or family is never easy, but it's even worse when they're young like this. This guy was, he was a kid. I've got shirts older than he was.
Well, I would like to think that if I died sometime between now and the release of the Batman movie, or whenever I die, someone would do a tribute show for me.
Yeah, that would definitely be something. We would have to do that one. Of course, I did it for Sonny. I did it for Michael Porter, and I wound up doing one 2.5 years later, because in between Sonny and Michael Porter's death was my good friend Michelle that we talked about a lot too, and I didn't know for 2.5 years, because I was putting my job first and getting ready to make my network here happen, and I totally forgot about her, and I was wondering what happened to her. Did she get married or something? And I find out that she's been dead for 2.5 years, and that was a tough point for me. I still think of Michelle every day, and always think, why couldn't I be there? Her and I almost did date until I wound up taking everything back that I said, because everything and how it happened was very impromptu, but I know the feeling, losing someone.
One thing that I always talk about when I write a column on my website, if anyone, if you check that column out, I know I get a lot of reads. But one thing that I always write about is the friendship that I was able to acquire with Michael Porter because of Wacko Bob. And every year that his passing, it loses more and more novelty, and the years go by. Michael Porter's name is one name that always pops into my mind, and I was one guy who was very, very dramatized over his passing. I was really, really affected because I got the call one day and boom, he was gone. I had hosted many shows with Michael Porter. I had interviewed him countless times, and it's just hard to realize that he's not here anymore. You know, it still haunts me a lot. It probably haunts me more now than it did when it actually happened. You know, it's hard.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about there, you know, and Morgan, who probably knew Sonny Goodman better than anyone, and actually used to fill in for Sonny Goodman a lot, too. And the one reward I got out of it with it all was Morgan, pretty much, you know, to keep Sonny's spirit alive, kept Shiny Days going while Danny couldn't do it, you know, and he brought me on right away, you know, and me and Morgan basically became Sonny Goodman.